Alright, folks, good afternoon. It is just a little past 3 p.m. on January 21st, 2024. And we're looking at the threat for freezing rain, and quite a bit of it in the northwest Arkansas region and Missouri and eastern Oklahoma. So, all threats are primarily just freezing rain and ice on the roads. That is our big factor for this. I'm gonna be bluntly honest here. It's not looking good. Based on what I've seen, it's not looking good. So one of the things I'm gonna hop into here is temperatures. Temperatures for freezing rain they need to be fairly high, or hot up in the atmosphere and above freezing, basically. And then right at ground level, it's freezing. That's where that comes from. Is where it's raindrops until it gets to pretty much at ground level height, and then it freezes, and then once it hits the ground, it freezes to whatever it sticks on. That's why it is the biggest threat, is that it can take down power lines, trees, and all that with even the quarter of an inch. And so that's some of the threats that we're looking at here. So as we go into 9 p.m. tonight, we can see our first bit of winter weather starting to pop in. We have our freezing rain coming in here somewhere around 9ish. And I'll say this, I don't think, well, I do, and I don't. I do think that it's going to start this early, but I don't think it's going to be like this. I think we're going to possibly have a more of a wider scale. I think it's going to be a bit more of a field area all over here. And so as it moves towards the northeast, towards us, it goes on, and so okay, sorry, that draw tool, it did not want to disappear, and I'm not really sure why there. Anyways, as we move on, it's going to keep coming towards the northeast, and as we continue to move on throughout the night, you can see it move through, and this only goes out till 7 a.m. This is because this is the latest model, and I think that it's probably the best one we're gonna have that I have a time period to film with. So you can see 7 a.m., 8 p.m. ish, or 8 a.m. ish. It is gonna be the strongest. 9 a.m., 10 a.m. ish, could be even stronger. This little bit of rain and such here, I think it's full of crap, and I'll show you why here in a minute. This whole system in terms of ice totals is not showing a whole bunch, and so I'll show that now. So as we go to freezing rain kind of like totals, immediately off the bat it just shows so little. And the thing about that is that when you look at how much was falling there, and that's some of it's not going to be like a light one, it's going to be pretty heavy at times, most likely, especially towards the 9, 10 a.m. ish. It's going to put a lot of it out. And even the Weather Prediction Center, I'm going to pull this up, I forgot to, but even the Weather Prediction Center is agreeing that there's a pretty decent chance of having over ice, like a ton of ice. And actually, I'm going to go back there, I didn't realize this. They upgraded this. We now have a high risk for ice exceeding, a fourth of an inch, which is insane, because that will knock out power and that'll do a lot of damage, especially to roads. So please do not be out during this from about, I'd say at the earliest, 11 p.m. onwards to really until safely 6 to 7 o'clock ish tomorrow. Please do not be out on the roads, and I'm at 6 o'clock p.m., not a.m. A.M.'s going to be prime time for this. P.m., no. So over a quarter of an inch, and it's showing a decent possibility of it. So this is about 50% down in the Fort Smith region, Fayetteville, and kind of Rogers and Springdale and Bentonville. We're at about just a little less than 10%, so not that much. So if we go to a tenth of an inch, still pretty high. And it's actually kind of downticked a little since the last time I showed it, or last time I looked at it. When I last looked at it, it showed for this time period, it was a 95% chance. Now it's showing 90. That's slightly good, but I think they're slightly downplaying it because of the models are being a little iffy on it. They're kind of agreeing, but they're not agreeing on the amount of ice accumulation. So Fort Smith area and all that, no matter what, you are probably going to get over a tenth of an inch. Fayetteville and all of the other southern parts of northwest Arkansas, you're most likely going to get it too. You still have that chance where you get less than that, but if I was a gambling man, I would not put my money on that, on getting less than a tenth of an inch. Then we got 70% in everywhere else across northwest Arkansas. That's the one thing that they agree with, which is, well, a bit concerning. And that will also mess up the roads too. That will mess up the roads also. Power lines and utilities and all that, it really depends. Tree limbs and all that breaking, all that stuff kind of affects it. Also, not to mention we will have some winds pick up. That will also not help in terms of the total accumulation. So that will be, or not in terms of accumulation, but more so damage to power lines, trees, and all that. That will be very concerning, and I think it's definitely going to cause some power outages, especially in the less stable areas. And then that and the roads being a bit slick. I think for the most part, and please take this with a grain of salt, I think for the most part when it comes to all of Arkansas or northwest Arkansas, I think it's going to be pretty rough. But I think by Tuesday morning it should be fine. And that's because we're going to get above freezing here. And I'll show you what I mean. So as we go into 9 p.m. tonight, you can see that we have just a little under freezing. And we have about 70% humidity. Here's another reason, by the way, why I'm going to switch topics for just half a second. Here is our current temperature. We are at 33 degrees, and it's extremely cloudy out. In fact, if you look pretty much everywhere, especially, and this is looking due south, it's cloudy everywhere in northwest Arkansas, and this is just off Interstate 49 at the way station. Our humidity at the moment is about 30. That's not that bad. That's actually pretty good in terms of what it would be in terms of an early formation of ice right now if the moisture was available, which it's not. Winds around 10 miles an hour. Those will pick up probably to 15 to 20 around probably 6 a.m. Or no, probably not even 6. I'd say probably around 3. So it's going to come in a bit harsher than these models are agreeing with. Because when you look at the temperature, I'm going to show you. This is just going to be me showing you. I think these temperatures are going to be a bit less. Because it's cloudy. The temperature's not going to rise while it's cloudy. And it's showing at 5-ish. It's at 35 or whatever. That's not going to happen. We're going to stay pretty much where we're at. If we have a higher temperature than, I'd say 35, I would be bluntly shocked. We'd have to have some peek through through the clouds, and I highly doubt that. By this point, I highly doubt it. And so, as, again, we go into 9 p.m., the weather moves in, or the weather starts to move in, again, 9 o'clock. Let me go back to this. Ignore the dog in the background. I don't know. But, you can see that it starts to possibly move in here. Like I said earlier, 9 p.m., 29 degrees. A lot of moisture available. This is why I think that this is going to be more of a filled area. I think this could possibly, from about here, could possibly be a bit more of a pink. So that's my issue with that. Going on, and I know this is going to be long, and this is because I'm really trying to put emphasis. I think this is going to be big. Do I think it's 2009 all over again? No. That was a 3-day event, and that's because it stayed freezing after that, and there was more. Here's the deal with this. This is a 1-day thing. Although the impacts could be more than 2 days, or I would say, let me rephrase that. It's about 2 days max, I think. In terms of damages, I think it could be a bit more than that, but I don't think in terms of road and power lines, I don't think it's going to be more than 2 days. It could need some fixing in Tuesday and such, but from there on, our temperatures stay above freezing, and they don't, and all it is rain. And I'll talk on that a bit later. As go on, temperatures again around midnight. It's at pretty much 30. I'd probably put this at 29, 28 personally. Humidity has actually dropped a little. That's good, but that's pretty much right when it's starting to move in a little. Go to frame. Yep, it's pretty much right on top of us by then. That's midnight. That's why it's showing that. It's because it's already here. And so, as you can see, there's actually a pretty heavy bit here and pretty heavy bit here also. Moving, and this is going to be moving pretty much due northeast. And so, I don't think that the models are really stressing this enough. I'm not going to show the total ice array, or I already have, but it's because of this not wanting to correlate with the temperatures, the humidity, and what the current conditions are outside. It doesn't want to correlate with that because it doesn't take that into effect. It looks at every single bit around, but not local, and that's why these models can be wrong, even though it is very good at what it does most of the time. Give or take on that one. So as we move on here, again, 1 a.m. It's just riding that line. And I don't think that it's going to be around the 31 degree area. I think around 2 a.m. it's probably going to be 29, 28. I think these temperatures are just way too high for what it's going to be. Because it's still taking an effect of what's going on out there. And what it thinks. It's not adding in what's going on out there. It's thinking what it had earlier is still going to happen. But that's already long gone. So 2 a.m. Again, it's still here. It's at probably its peak. Yeah, we might get a slight gap over here. Lots of freezing rain. Don't listen to this again. Eureka Springs, Rogers, Springdale, Fayetteville. All these areas are going to get hit pretty good. I think the primal areas are going to get hit the most. I'm going to go down a bit here, too. It's going to be right down here. In fact, that's not even that good of a drawing. I'm going to show this again. All through here. Y'all could get even up to an inch. I don't think that's going to be likely, but some of the models, especially the Canadian and the ECMWF, have showed that. And that is the European model, by the way, is what the ECMWF is. That could get ugly if it is. That means multiple days worth of, power outages and all that, because it will take a little bit for that. So after this rolls out, I think it'll be done by probably around 10 a.m.-ish. So let's go right around, I'm on the wrong model, and so here we go. Going back to this, around 10 a.m. It's barely above freezing. I also think that this is I think it's probably going to be just at or barely below freezing whenever it comes or starts to leave out in terms of the freezing rain, but I think the rain is going to come in at that time. I think it's going to swap over. And so and I'm not really going to show the humidity anymore, but I am going to show the precipitation type on this. Where is it? There we are. You can see that freezing rain around 2 a.m.-ish, spotty. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a wider area. Moving on throughout the day. Around 10 a.m., there we go. The models are kind of agreeing that it's around there. Still showing sleet in this area because it's barely at those temperature ranges. I think this is going to be exactly what it is. 10 a.m. to ish could be the last little switch over. At the very latest, noon. Noon is the very latest I think we're going to have some. You can still see it spotty here, but in terms of the Fayetteville, Rogers, Bentonville, Bella Vista, you know, Gravette area and all that, I think it's fine. I think we're onto the rain. The worst is done. Now, the other threat that we're looking at is this rain kind of sticking with the ice. That could be another issue. I don't think that's as predominant, but it is still pretty bad of an issue. So, I think in total, and I'm going to get my own little map thing going up here. I'm going to change to about a 1 hour older model. That way I can show the full extent of this. I think at max, here's where I think the worst is going to be. Northwest Arkansas. Deep Northwest Arkansas. Springdale, Rogers, Bella Vista, and Pea Ridge. I think we're going to be at about, I would say probably a quarter of an inch would be a pretty good area. I think it's a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch. Those are still really big levels, and it's going to get slightly concerning. All through here, through Fort Smith, Mountainburg, Harrison, Berryville, Huntsville, all of the kind of like mountain areas, or at least in this section at least. I think it's going to be bad. I think you're looking up to probably your most likely is a quarter of an inch. Like I was saying up here, I think if we're going to have a quarter of an inch up here, then down here is going to be pretty bad. But because the cold air is moving out quicker up here than it is down here. That's the main thing. So I think that's our main issue, is the cold air moving out quick enough. And since it's cloudy, that's not going to help with the cold air getting out quick enough. If it was sunny, we'd probably be looking at probably a bit less here. No matter what, we're getting freezing rain. That's a fact. All here in this deep yellow. Y'all are probably going to get the worst of it. And also, even up here near Ozark, Springfield, and all that, I think we actually could have quite a bit here too, because even the models were kind of showing that. So how that will be, I think that one could be pretty big, especially in that area. But I think we're looking up to, 0.1 to 1.5 inch. It's so hard to write with this mouse, but you get the general consensus. I think we're looking around like about a tenth of an inch, 20 to half an inch, or quarter of an inch. I think you're looking at a quarter of an inch to a half inch around this area. And especially over here, I think you're looking at pretty much that, but you could even have more up to an inch. I think that's our main issue. So, with that, please be safe on the roads if you have to be. That is if you have to be. If you are, please be. I really advise you not be on the roads on Monday at all. But I understand some people do have to go to jobs and all that. Now, Tuesday and all that, it's just going to be rain. That's simply all it's going to be. Temperatures will warm up. Ice will slowly start to, melt away. So it's all rain. I think after Monday, all it's going to be this week is just rain. So I think it'll be fine. So just please be careful out there, folks. Please do not slip. Please, like yourself or in a car. And please just be mindful of the conditions and don't do anything stupid. Alright. Well, I'll leave it for that today, folks. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.